Hi everybody, TJ Mac Vintage Cards and Nostalgia here. There's something universal about the way adults look back on their childhood. Now, most of us at some point we come to believe that the time in which we grew up in was the greatest. Maybe it's because those years were simpler. Maybe it's because those years held our first heroes, our first dreams, and the beginnings of the lives we still live today. Or maybe it's because memory has a way of softening the edges, allowing only the warmth to remain. For me, the golden era growing up was the early to mid 1980s. And today I want to look at 1981 in particular. It's a year that I sometimes go back to in my mind. I was 6 going on 7, just a young kid getting immersed with sports and popular culture. I remember that was the year that MTV came out, and I didn't have cable, and I don't think I even had any friends that had cable. It would have been a few years before we were actively watching it. And I wasn't the biggest music fan, but I still enjoyed it and realized the importance of it, even at that time. Being able to watch videos nonstop, 24/7 was pretty cool. But as far as sports go, around that time, I was starting to embrace my heroes, Dale Murphy and Steve Garvey, Dave Parker, Reggie Jackson, in baseball. And then I was a growing Cowboys fan around that time as well, and had many heroes on the Dallas teams, and Danny White and Tony Dorsett and Too Tall Jones. And then in hockey, I was a Sabres fan, and Gilbert Perreault was my favorite player. So this was around the time that I was embracing a lot of those players. And then also at that time, you can see here this 1981 Sports Illustrated with Gary Carter on the cover. I started Little League Baseball in 1981, and my team that I played for was the Expos. So I was aware of the team in Montreal around that time. Though I didn't know a lot about them, whenever I see this magazine cover, it reminds me of those days playing Little League Baseball. And then, of course, the magazine next to it has Tony Dorsett on the cover, who was my favorite player of that era. And you see Man on the Run, and it's just a beautiful Sports Illustrated cover of who I think is a bit of an underrated running back, really. He was not as good as Walter Payton, certainly, but in that Dallas offense, it was really a passing offense, but it was hard to keep Dorsett from getting the ball just because he was so electrifying whenever he got it with those long legs, and he was so quick to the hole that he was just somebody I really enjoyed watching back then. Today I'm going to show you some of the display cases in my card room with my 1981 cards in them. I have a 36 card case with 1981 Topps baseball, a 30 card case with 1981 Topps football, and then I have a 36 card case with 18 1981 O-Pee-Chee and Topps hockey, and 18 1974 Topps and O-Pee-Chee hockey. And that's my theme, and some of my cases for this month is 1981. And I've talked about in the past how the strength of my collection is the sum of all the parts. That's what I've labored on. It's been a labor of love for over 20 years building this collection that I can just pull from any year from the 1950s into the late 1980s and just display cards that resonate with me, either through my father-in-law, or just my own memories growing up of players and cards. And what I've also done, I talked about this a few videos back, is I'm incorporating magazines into my collection more and more. I want to build a display case featuring magazines between 1956 and 1989. And I've been going through all my magazines and starting to figure out which ones I need to add to my collection for the displays. And where I'm at is I need some more 1950s and some late 1980s ones. I'm in pretty good shape with magazines from the 1960s all the way into the early 1980s. Though I'll get some more just for variety. And that's part of the fun of it, is just selecting the magazines that really drive my interest, be it the players, the events of the time. So without further ado, I'm going to show you the cases now. I've set it to music. And I want to see if you know the theme song that I used for the 1981 and 1974 Topps and O-Pee-Chee hockey case. If you do, please let me know in the comments.